Hey there, fellow colony builders, Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to RimWorld Frostwardens, episode 72, finally tuning the Eclipse farm. So as you can see above my head, we're continuing to build the Half Moon farm and to scan for uranium, as we do not have a source of uranium in order to fuel some of our industry. Additional to those goals there, the Half Moon farm construction needs limestone, but I'm pretty sure at this point we have enough limestone. I had some thoughts about what to grow here. So, what I kept coming back to is I could line the whole area with sun lamps, but that is a very expensive growth project, right? Every additional sun lamp is a ridiculous amount of additional power required. I had designed this with the thought that this project was going to grow low light crops outside of the immediate grow circle. And to that end, I wanted to decide, well, so I'll just, rather than put it to poll, here's what I'm brainstorming. One thing that we could do, hypothetically, is to line this whole area with something like fiber corn, maybe leaving a very small swath of it dedicated towards Tinctoria. I think probably a better way to explain this is to first mention what low light crops are. Most crops require bright light, at least 51% light requirement. All lights except for grow lights produce 50. So essentially, most crops require a grow light, but not all crops. So the crops that do not require a grow light would be something like nutrifungus, which needs darkness. Any flowers, which only needs 30%, but there's really no advantage to flowers. If we had ranch animals and they wanted to eat dandelions or something, flowers might make sense, but apart from grazing purposes, flowers aren't helpful. They don't yield resources. Fiber corn and Tinctoria. Those are the crops, nutrifungus, fiber corn, Tinctoria, that can be grown. Now, if we did grow a small plot of Tinctoria here, it would allow us to dedicate... So these basins here do require power, but they don't fall within the sphere of influence of the grow light. Not fully, right? 3/4 of it falls outside. So if we started to grow our Tinctoria up here, we could grow a little bit of Tinctoria without having to power up the hydroponic basin. Because hydroponic basins, of course, require power. It's not to say that it's going to be really power efficient to grow Tinctoria up here, because this is a very large area that needs to be heated. Now, the alternative thought I had here is growing nutrifungus. So nutrifungus has a very low fertility sensitivity and low fertility requirement. So its fertility requirement is only 30% versus like Tinctoria's, which is 70%, or fiber corns, which is also very low at 20%. So my point here is Tinctoria will still grow very slowly in the stony soil, but nutrifungus and fiber corn do not. With that said, bang for my buck, I think nutrifungus is going to provide more benefit to the colony than fiber corn. Both nutrifungus and fiber corn can be turned into chem fuel via the biofuel refinery, but I'm going to get a lot more nutrifungus to turn into chem fuel than wood from fiber corn to turn into chem fuel, because fiber corn is so slow growing and slow yield, fiber corn really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I think what I want to do is I want to engineer this farm to essentially use the stony soil for nutrifungus purposes. Which means I'm also going to need to change its design somewhat considerably. One of the things I wanted to do once we have all of the external walls done, is to start filling in the inside with slate. And that's because the lower the volume of this room, the easier it's going to be to heat. And with that said, I'll also be moving the heaters into the central circle. Because if I'm growing Nutrifungus, everything needs to be dark except for the center, which is growing like corn and other things. There's also the possibility of hooking up hydroponic basins around the grow light here. Because, oh, maybe not that basin. But because this area can support some basins. So I could grow something faster growing. Or, alternatively, dedicate these basins to slower growing crops, like Psychoid. Because Psychoid takes a very long time to grow hydroponically, as does Heelroot. And then essentially walling this off, so it's like it's a structure within a structure, if you will. So that is my that's my current plan for the Half Moon Farm, rather than to put it to polling. And I just wanted to explain why I'm designing it in the way that I am. We're also continuing to scan for uranium. It is the only metal that we don't have a renewable resource of. And we're going to need uranium in order to make things like advanced components and bionics and all that lovely stuff. Slug turrets, etc., etc., etc. So I'm hoping to be able to scan some uranium as well. So I'm moving the heaters because I'm not quite ready to heat the area, and I don't really want to pay for the electric bill of heating an area that we're not using yet. While we get the limestone walls done. On top of that, we are going to want to continue to cut slate blocks, as we're going to need slate blocks to fill in the center. Oh, this is pretty funny. All right, close stalwarts and close pilgrims, a little bit wider of a accessibility around there. A dark moon farm surrounded by a bright farm, so an eclipse? Yes, it's going to be the Eclipse farm. That would be a very accurate way of describing it. All right, the other thing we're going to need is a lot of heaters. So we do have, of course, the fabrication bench cranking in order to get the requisite components for this project, because the heaters are going to need more components and the hydroponic basins are going to need more components. So it is it's a rather expensive farm to build and run. But at the end of the day, I think it will be worth it. All right. So the other issue that we're going to face here is heaters produce light, and the Nutrifungus doesn't want light. So we have to figure out a way to heat the Nutrifungus without blasting it with light from the heaters. So the way I imagine this working is once we're done with the external walls, I'm going to build the inside with slate. And it's going to look something like this, where we're going to surround the nutrifungal area with slate. And then some of these lights are obviously going to get removed. We'll probably end up putting a door somewhere around here. The corners can be trimmed off for extra space. Because technically speaking, the corners don't really matter all that much. Now, some of the corners don't really, removing them isn't much of a benefit at all. And I'm going to start lining the area with the, with like walls, filling it in so that it is easier to heat. Cheers. And then the inside spaces here are going to be for heaters. And I'm not really sure exactly how many heaters I'm going to need. So, given this design here, I think what makes the most sense is to put like a door, maybe roughly around here, and keeping it open. Now, doors, of course, will block light, which I know doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's just the way the RimWorld works. And then on top of that, we're going to need a lot of vents. So we're going to need like just about a wall of vents. And I'm not really sure how many vents I'm going to need, but like 4 vents and a door, or maybe we'll do 3 vents and a door for starters. Should be enough, but time will tell. So that's the scope of the project. And then we'll just try to balance it out. And of course, we're heading into the summer. So in winter months, this whole project might require more heaters than it does in the summer months, because the temperatures obviously change significantly depending on season. The other thing I didn't incorporate into this design is the neutrofungal areas. Sorry, the Tinctoria areas. So the other thing that I could dedicate to this design is like a small section specifically for Tinctoria, where like this zone doesn't get 100% light, but it does get at least 51% light, and we can grow our Tinctoria in here, if that makes sense. Maybe even larger, like have it come down here. So this is Tinctoria. Probably smaller than that. But trying to balance out our clothing dyeing needs. Yeah, I like that. So let's start naming these. Tinctoria field. Fungus field 1. Fungus field 2. Cornfield. And this is what we're going to approach. Now, of course, once some of the wall sections are done, I'll remove the pillars, and then once almost everything is done, I'll remove the floodlight. The floodlight is just there so that people don't have to work in the dark, because working in the dark has its own penalties, mood and work speed and the like. So that's the goal. Scan more wood. Great. Thanks, Brizit. Certainly not his fault, but I don't need more wood. Where is... Oh, wow. It's attached, essentially, to the coal. Interesting. Oh, wow. And immediately scanning coal. Again. Hey, can you get some uranium, please? Pretty please? So at the moment, it looks like our limestone requirements have been met. So I'm going to pause, or rather suspend the limestone block queue, and we will work on the... Hey. No, that doesn't go there. We'll work on the slate. All you heard is, wow, thanks, Brizit. You scanned unnecessary resources in the ground. Although I don't mind it, you know. We live in a resource-rich area with geothermal activity. It could be worse. I think what I'll do here is put the grow benches like this, filling in just one corner of a potential cornfield, because having an entire extra hydroponic bench is worth it. Wow, we are scanning like crazy. More coal. Again, don't need coal. Really hoping for uranium. But unfortunately for me, my colonist did not get the memo. And I think what I'm going to do is... This is going to be ugly, and nobody's going to like it, but I'm going to temporarily put slate chunks as a critical priority here. And maybe shrink this zone so that we are putting slate chunks close to the stone cutter for crafting speed. It also might be worth replacing this door, which is like a stone door, opens real slow, to wood. JD finished his heal cycle, and he no longer has scars. So, scratch scars are all cured. Perfect. Yep, that stone cutting is working a lot faster. Alright, let's take a broad view of the colony right now. We have lots of steel. We don't have a lot of iron or coal reagents, mostly because we haven't been trying to obtain them, given our influx of steel. We have a really decent amount of chem fuel. Not too worried about the chem fuel mix that we've got right now. I'm actually going to just turn off the biofuel refinery for now. If you're wondering, the next arc upgrade requires us to burn 1,000 fuel, and we learned last stream that, like, trying to arc tune to accelerate that process does not work. We were burning extra fuel, and we were not generating extra progress, so I kind of put that to rest. It's a little extra steel, but I'm going to do a whole loop here. So yeah, once we get the chem fuel burned, the highest priority always is to make sure that we are upgrading our arc. That is the ultimate goal of this series, so we will push towards that. Don't fully block off the second fungal farm? Yes. It is, yeah, we will need to leave an open spot here for airflow. Good call. Alright, fish pick. I'm going to have you deconstruct some of these older doors. Internal doors that, like, are stone but could be wood, I'm going to start replacing with wood. We have plenty of wood. We can deep drill for wood. It's not much of an issue. And these slow opening doors are really only a hindrance to us. So why keep them as they are? There's always the risk of, like, some sort of combat incursion within our base, but I'm not too worried about that. Alright, now that we're starting to build the walls adjacent to the columns, I can replace the columns with walls. Looks like things are actually getting built. I love it. Alright, fish pick, I'm going to have you deconstruct the columns. And this looks like a bit of a mess, but you can definitely see the rhyme and reason as to why this exists the way it does. Trying to take advantage of the terrain as much as possible without losing too much heat. How are we doing for slate? So all the slate that was here got hauled. Oh, okay. I'm gonna drag this back out. Now that it's starting to warm up, granted it's still negative 52, but now that it's starting to warm up, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the zoning for everybody to research prevented, except for Bryzit and Zeusin, who are our researchers, so they can start hauling chunks in. And I'm going to have them haul the limestone chunks because we have a lot more slate chunks ready to go than limestone. I'll have to keep a close eye on making sure that nobody gets hypothermic in this cold, but it's probably safer now than it was really ever before. How's our batteries? So given our batteries aren't fully powered up, that part of the tunnel can be shut down. I'm going to keep this part of the tunnel on, though. I'm just trying to conserve a little bit more power so the batteries top up all the way. I can always, of course, burn more fuel for more power stored, but I don't think that that's probably worth it. I think it's time to probably queue up the floodlight to get broken down. And hope that this is enough vents to transfer the heat between zones. The question I have for you guys is, once I'm done with the Half Moon Farm, which is fast approaching completion, what project should I next prioritize? So here is some choices. We can improve the defensive entrance, and what I mean by that is making use of maybe better turrets or more turrets, better defenses, better pillbox, something like that. Alternatively, we could expand the battery bank even further. One of the advantages to expanding the battery bank is there will be, without spoiling too much, there will be times in the future where we'll have to do maintenance to our arc, meaning that the arc will have to virtually power down. And expanding the battery banks will allow us to keep the power running in the base without an arc running at full capacity. We could build a television. What I meant to say by building a television is more like we could improve recreation. But I do have tube television research done, so we could build a regular television. I can improve the anti-zapper, anti-breacher defenses, because there are some gaps in the coverage, and we could certainly fix that. Prioritize colonist health conditions. So what I mean by that is all of the pilgrims right now, because of the bioregeneration cycles, are all healed. But Zeusin is not, has multiple scars. Cardinal has a missing toe. Madzin has a stab scar on the toe. Sheep is missing a toe, and Bryzit's missing a pinky. So there are some colonists that could use either bionics or a regen cycle. And the regen cycles aren't exclusive necessarily to the pilgrims. The pilgrims, of course, prefer them, but they don't have exclusive access to them. So that health conditions poll is about, making sure that our stalwarts are equally healthy. We could design and build a trap corridor. So I had mentioned this before, that we might want to have backup traps. So I uninstalled the traps that we had installed, but a trap corridor doesn't necessarily mean spike traps. It could also be fire traps. It could be a flame corridor, because we do have the ability to grow flammables like wood or access to things like chem fuel. So we could build a fire corridor in order to burn attackers. Maybe not the most humane way of getting rid of them, but certainly effective, I think. We could also open it up to viewer suggestions and have you guys decide. But it looks like a pretty simple task of hey, how about just a TV is the popular option. So, to that end, we'll get a TV. What kind of broadcast are we watching? I have no idea. Let's imagine it's like old VHS tapes or something like that. There was a YouTube comment about that. What are they even watching, lore-wise? It's to be honest, I don't know. I don't know. And Fish Pick now has a TV for us for our recreation room. An old copy of The Thing seems climate appropriate. Yeah, I would agree with you. The hydroponic benches are coming together. I'm just keeping them off until we're ready to use them, so we don't waste power. And Tagos, thank you for the resub. Cheers, dude. Alright, looks like TV and prioritizing health conditions have tied. Well, almost tied, but I did already build the TV. So, in terms of health conditions, the next one I want to prioritize is Zeuson's. Zeuson has some pretty nasty scratch scars that could be remedied. And in all of the hydroponic basins and the bioregen, the biopods, we are absolutely going to need some additional coal and iron. So it is time to turn on the drills up here and get drilling again for the requisite materials. We're going to be out of steel any minute. I went from 1,000 steel to like no steel in a blink of an eye. It's crazy. Also, we're burning through our components, but you know, that's progress, right? That's just progress. All right, so I'm adding the and heal people to the priority above my head. All the others could use bionics, which might, given the stalwarts' belief in bionics, would be their preference. But in Zeuson's case, it's torso and neck scar, and there's no bionic replacements for that. So she'll seek a bioregeneration solution. Alright, at this point, definitely have enough slate. So I'm going to unsuspend these limestone blocks and just let them cut whatever. Because we have plenty of materials for the rest of this project. Would it be worth making solar panels? I can't. There's no such thing in this series as an alternative generator. They don't exist. Power generators cannot be built. Not a one. That's kind of the whole premise. So if you're wondering, if I go to Power tab, I can build an arc, I can build a battery, but as you can see, wind turbines, solar power generators, they're all missing. In fact, hell, they're not even in the research tree. I can't even research them. The only power we will ever receive is from the arc. It's the only source. By design. This is getting pretty close to being ready. I'm going to start to heat it up. I'm going to stagger the heaters a little bit. I'm sure I'm going to need more heaters, though. Well, I mean, I can't be sure, but my best estimation would be that we don't have enough heaters in this area. Okay, we got iron. Inconveniently far away. And then once all the walls are done, I'll pull the trigger on getting rid of the floodlight. Work a little bit in the dark, it's fine. Plasteel, nice. That's not too hard to get to. The old farm needs 4, so you're betting about 6 for the new one? Yeah, probably. And that's why I left space for it. In worst case scenario, I can delete some of these other walls to free up space for even more heaters. I expected about 6. But we'll see. It's right now still pretty frozen in there, but it's 30 degrees warmer than ambient. Alright, and our steel is pretty bad right now, so let's go ahead and turn off the coal and focus solely on iron. Making sure that we have plenty of iron for our steel. Whoa! That's not what I meant to click. Destroy the Ark! Well, that's one quick way to commit suicide, I suppose. Let's not do that. That would be bad. Very, very bad. So, Ms. Zeusin, I'm going to have you hop in here for a pleasure cycle. Get you biotuned, and then you will do a regen cycle. It's going to take a minute, but at least those scars will go away. So the inner part of the farm with 5 heaters is just about the right temperature. And I'm staggering the heaters so that we can sort of minimize their use. Wow, we are actually sowing the fungal fields. All right. The outside farm is still too cold. So what we're going to need is more steel for more vents. Pretty obviously. We're out of steel at the moment. Down here should be tinctoria, not potatoes. And then over here needs to be fungus as well. Screwed that up. Now that we're doing tinctoria down there, I am going to harvest the tinctoria that we have growing here and then get rid of those basins, as those basins are a power-hungry way of getting tinctoria. You know, 140 watts, which we don't need to waste anymore. And that will also get a little bit of steel, I suppose. We are under attack. Prepare a while. 2 different directions. East group. Mix of melee and brawl, or melee and ranged. Really, some are really geared up with proper armors, so somewhat of a dangerous group. And then the other group is almost all ranged, very few melee weapons. Okay, got it. Gonna have Axios and Cardinal. So we're gonna change the zoning here to be behind the walls, but I'm going to update the behind the walls zone first, because this is behind the walls, technically speaking, and it's fine for them to be in the farm during prepare a while raids. I don't want them in the northern section, though. So, zoning. Behind walls. Cool. And then Axios and Cardinal are going to report to the mortars and fire HE shells, because the Prepare a While raid is not coming and attacking immediately. And then we also do, I am verifying right now, have a valid path into the base. So the ambient temperature is negative 56. Some of these raiders probably aren't geared for that, but many are. We're going to have to take these guys down the old-fashioned way, I suspect, because I don't think many of them are going to fall due to hypothermia. This group is about twice the size of the other group, so we're going to shell this group as a priority. They're the more dangerous of the two. And I'll go ahead and double the vents there once we have the steel. Alright, mortars are set. Let's hope we don't fire short and, like, land on ourselves. Cross your fingers. Three hit. Not terrible. Getting some finishing touches here in the farm. And then I'm probably going to want my defenders ready to actually physically defend. Alright, wave 2. Closing this door could help with the temperature as well. Yes. In fact, I had intended for that door to be closed. Thank you for catching that, Elizabeth. Oh, wow, we killed 2 of them. One of them had a lot of meds, which unfortunately are probably going to get shelled to destruction, but, you know, can't be helped. With this door closed, the Nutrifungal farm is actually doing okay, it seems. I'm surprised they're not attacking me yet. They have lost a not insignificant amount of their own people. But they're still holding fast. Which, honestly, is a surprise. Marauder, thank you for the resub. So it's, yeah, 64 degrees in there. Let's stagger these further. So this is 70, 68, 66, 64, 62, and then this one will be set to 60. Whoops. Which should lower our power usage. So it's weird. And I know the grow lights and hydroponic basins aren't on right now. It's because, you know, we've got more important things to manage at the moment. But it seems like the temperature between these two zones are more or less equalized. Which is great. How are you not attacking me yet? So the other issue I'm going to face here is I don't want to use up 100% of my shells. My HE shells. I don't know how to make HE shells yet. We haven't researched it. So I'm going to extract them and fire shells at them. Okay. At this point, let's get ready for the big fight. So Madzin is going to prepare this door as an alternative path into the base. Yeah, it is a little colder in this area still. I'll have to add more vents in eventually. The other thing I could do is remove the vents and just like break a hole where it won't leak out so much light. And I think that's probably going to be the approach I take. Fine-tuning it, you know, once I have time to fine-tune it. Which is not right now, because we're in the middle of the fight. Okay, here we go. First group. So none of them had like triple launchers, doomsday launchers, nothing like that. It's also possible to get a recruit out of this. We also did not destroy the medicine out here, which is like fantastic. What is going on? Oh, yeah, there it goes. Alright, fish pick. Got you to close it. And so the other issue is, Madsen, it looks like if we open this, you will get attention immediately. But I do have turrets here, so we could fall back to the turrets. So maybe I'll wait. Oops. I'll wait as long as I'm able to flip this. Because they might flee in a second anyway. I don't like how there's someone with a Gladius there, though. It would be great if they had... If Fishpick had shooter backup. But he does not. His shield belt's still holding, though. So in pushing... there we go. Alright, the second group is coming in. Fishpick could fall back for healing. He's got some help. And the attackers are getting hung up. Some of them are getting hung up on our turrets. So it's splitting up their group, allowing us to focus fire on them a little bit better. Alright, let's see. Who does medicine? Neither of you. Fish, you can self-tend, technically speaking. So let's have you do that. Madsen, you'll come up here. Alright, we're starting to get shot by Booker. So anyone that has a line of sight on Booker should shoot Booker. That corner has been like an annoying one. I realize. So we're going to want to engineer... Oh, JD is really getting hit. We're going to engineer a better solution at some point for that. Sheep is down. And some of the problem is this dude just is probably hopped up on Go Juice. Yeah, it's a Go Juice issue. Trying to take someone out who's hopped up a Go Juice is always pretty challenging. So Madsen's coming over here to help Jade, who's not on Go Juice, which is good. I'm going to clear the priority targets for all the people here. JD, you do medicine, so I'm going to have you self-tend. You are missing a nose, so noted. Yeah, this is a populous raid. Cardinal, you should fall back. Booker's finally down. And then those that are firing on these turrets out here can find a new target. I don't think these turrets are all that destroyed, but we've split up their attack group enough. Yep, that it's fine to shut that down. Thank you for tuning in to RimWorld Frostwardens, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Frostwarden survivors.